Hey, welcome to episode 2 of the Brother Brain podcast. In this episode, we're going to talk about God of War Ragnarok and what we expect, what we're predicting from it, all that kind of stuff. We're going to start off by watching the trailer from the reveal from 2021 PlayStation Showcase. Um, and
We get a refresher.
he just finished a playthrough of the first God of War from 2018. Not the first God of War, but you know what I mean.
Yes, but I also just beat God of War 1 and 2 as well, so.
Yeah, so it's very fresh on his mind. I watched a bit of his playthrough, so I'm aware of a lot of it, and but it has been since 2018 since I actually played the game. But yeah, let's watch the Ragnarok trailer and get a little refresher of what this is all about. That music is incredible.
Time is running out. The prophecies say Fimbulwinter leads to Ragnarok. War is coming. My story doesn't end hiding in these woods. I should be out there, finding out who I am, who Loki is.
I will not allow you to pick a fight with gods.
I don't want to fight anyone. I just want answers.
And if those answers lead to war with Asgard,
Maybe that's what Mother wanted.
we do not know what Mother wanted.
Well, I recognize that dour expression anywhere. Odin's got tricks up his sleeve we haven't dared to consider.
What if there was someone who could help us?
You mean Tyr, the old god
I
of
think
war
your
in
mic's
these
muted.
lands, who is dead.
Oh,
Well,
that is
dead man,
the
Odin
Lake of
seemed pretty
Nine with the
keen on
dog
seeing
sled
he wasn't
100%.
found.
If he's out there, we gotta find him.
Come in.
Is that Sonny
All
Kid not
yours
doing
be
his
the
voice in this
happen
one?
to him.
I don't
We're
know.
trying to stop
Or did he just
Ragnarok,
get older?
To help people.
Well, I'm sure he got
What if
older.
the only way to do that is war?
War is not the only way.
So that area looks
Stop
like the
thinking like a
village
father for a
that
moment and
they're
start thinking like a
riding
general.
into.
You seem like a calm and
So
reasonable
maybe it
person.
gets attacked.
Are you a calm and reasonable person?
That's so sick, dude.
Dude, new executions. Heck yeah, this
Moments
thing,
of crisis.
a minotaur
Panic does nothing.
or a centaur, whatever that
Harness
is,
it.
centaur.
Let it serve you.
Tyr!
Are you coming with us?
You'll get your answers soon enough. Well, some of them.
Okay.
PlayStation.
So just from rewatching that, I have.
Man,
Something
I love
else.
that. Holy crap.
All right. So yeah, there's definitely like some new attacks and finishers and stuff like that. It looks like you're in a dog sled on the Lake of Nine. The village that you row into, I think, is gonna have NPCs. It looks like that you can talk to. And there's also another dwarf. It seems like.
Yeah. First of all, that trailer, like exactly like the end of the other game, literal chills. Chills.
It's
The
pretty good,
dude, the
man.
part
It's
where
pretty
it
good.
shows Thor's hammer is so freaking sick. That like gets me absolutely amped. I want like more stuff like that, which I expect to happen. Like Thor and like maybe some other, familiar Norse mythology gods and people, especially since, the whole Loki thing.
Right.
Which is absolute filth. And you can tell from the way that Atreus, it seems like for that entire trailer, Atreus is literally like against
Annoyed.
Kratos. Like he's
Right.
talking trash to him the whole time. And he's like constantly trying to like do his own thing. Which brings us to what your predictions are for Ragnarok, because you talked about Atreus trying to kill Kratos before.
Yeah, I mean, I got a bunch of predictions. Do you want to do like one at a time?
Just start going off of them and we'll talk about them.
All right. So the first one, they're kind of like The Last of Us. There's going to be a point where you control Atreus without Kratos.
I thought the same thing. I think I don't know if Kratos will like go off to do something without him for some reason, or they like get mad at each other and like Atreus runs off, or I don't know what it is, but something's going to separate them.
So
and
I don't know.
I think the same thing.
If this will be too similar to The Last of Us, but I said maybe you hunt the deer in the trailer, and while you're hunting, you might have to fight some, hell walkers, or whatever the hell they're called, the nightmares, and some random monsters, and you're by yourself as Atreus, so you're kind of like using a bow and a knife and stuff like that.
That would be shockingly similar to The Last of Us.
I know, especially if you're hunting the deer, but again, they hunt the deer in the first gameplay portion of the first game, so it might kind of
mean, the game's obviously has a lot of inspiration from The Last of Us, but I don't know, that might be too much. But I do think I can't even explain why, but it just seems like you're going to get to play as Atreus, and maybe he's even going to develop some sort of ability or something related to being, part giant, part god.
Yeah,
that'll just give him some sick moveset that you can do.
We've already seen him like attempt to use the Spartan Rage, and he like passes out. So that could definitely be a thing where he like now he gets mad and starts throwing haymakers like Kratos.
He's gonna like be in trouble at some point, or like Kratos will be in trouble at some point. Like maybe even like Kratos is getting smoked or held captive, I don't know, by like Thor or something, and that's gonna like bring out the anger in Atreus, and all of a sudden he's just gonna be able to Spartan Rage, and you're gonna play as him and just like pop off on all the bad guys and save Kratos. That would be insane.
At the end, towards the end of God of War 2018, there's a couple of sequences where Atreus becomes a lot more involved in the combat. Like he actually starts just taking down enemies with his knife. There's a few like quick time events where you have to press square to shoot an arrow as him. So they kind of like started leaning into the fact that he was going to be a lot more involved in the combat, especially as he got kind of like closer to his dad towards the end. So I definitely think that's definitely like
it's like the next step in the combat, like other than just giving Kratos new weapons and like things he can do. Like the next step in how they develop the combat is giving Atreus more abilities and more things he can do to either help you or let you take control of him and do some cool stuff. Like I feel like that's where they have to go with it, for it not to be like a lot of the same.
So going from there, I kind of have these predictions in order of like the wow factor, I guess. So the next one, the girl at the end of the trailer, the caption says her name is Angerboda or whatever, Angerboda. And in mythology, she's like the wife of Loki.
So
she's gonna be some kind of love.
So that's a pretty big hint that Atreus is gonna at least have a crush on her. But we don't know what role she's gonna play.
Some kind of love interest thing with the girl. I don't know much about her other than what I just said. So
Is
I can't make
is
a
Loki
better
always
prediction.
the brother of Thor in mythology? Or is that something that's like not completely consistent? I'm not sure about that. I'm pretty sure he usually is, right? Like the majority of the time he's supposed to be Thor's brother.
Mm,
He was in like that Greek mythology book by Neil Gaiman and obviously like MCU and stuff, but that's not true to mythology.
yeah, he's the son of a Jotun and a goddess. Um,
Because I mean, I don't know. I don't think like
Loki is the
there's no way that Thor can be Loki's brother in this unless it's like I don't know unless Kratos' wife like had a kid long ago with somebody else.
So in mythology, Loki basically loses his relationships with a lot of the gods because he kills Balder.
So they're definitely doing their own thing. Like it's not going to be completely
Yeah, I
accurate
mean
to that, but
he definitely helped kill Balder. So
I
I don't know.
wonder what like where what's her name Agrabota
It's Angrboda.
Ang
Ang
Angrboda
Angrboda.
whatever it is. I
Um,
wonder how like she's gonna play into it. Whether she's gonna like, I even thought like if you do play as Atreus for a bit, she would be like your Atreus. Like when you're beating the piss
mhm.
out of things, she's like sitting on the sideline shooting arrows at people or something, just for like a bit. Obviously, everybody wants to play as Kratos, but
Yeah, I get the feeling that she's gonna be an
you just
NPC that says like "Follow me," and you're like following her through an area that she's familiar with or something like that.
and you could even like be traveling with her for like X period of time temporarily through a couple missions or just one
Right.
area or whatever for some reason. But yeah, that would be pretty cool.
Um. So the next prediction that I have, which again is nothing wild, there's going to be a lot more NPCs and characters to talk to, and then there's going to be a lot more like side quests and content related to those characters that I think will kind of flesh out a lot more story of a lot of different characters potentially from mythology.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, they showed Tyr, which he didn't appear in the first game, right? They just talked about him.
they just talk about him and they talk about Thor and Odin a lot, but they don't really talk about uh anybody else really. Thor's sons you kill, and they talk about Tyr being dead, which obviously from the trailer we know
He's
he's
not,
not. So
and he's also a giant. So I mean,
right.
obviously, from what they talked about, Atreus is trying to find out more about like him being a giant,
Hmm.
which could have something to do with why they look for Tyr and eventually find him.
Right.
So I don't know what that's going to reveal about it, but I'm
So
sure it has something to do with Atreus's giant hood, if that's
mhm.
what you call it.
One of the things that I would like to see is I recently also played Metro Exodus, and one of the really like positive things about the side quests in that game is that everything that you do like affects your relationships with the characters that you did the quest for. And like later in the story you have like story beats related to the like quest. So just as an example, there's a guy that asks you to find his guitar um, that he lost. And if you find it, like literally almost at the end of the game, there's a sequence where he brings out the guitar and like plays a song and everybody like gathers around. So I'm hoping if there's side content in Ragnarok, it's something like that where like you do these tasks for people and your relationship kind of affects how you know, their interactions with you go, and like different things can happen based on whether or not you actually help them when they ask.
Yeah, that would be pretty dope. Assuming like would that apply to like I don't remember their names, but like the guys who like craft stuff for you and all that, or are we
Brock and
talking like
Sindri.
yeah them,
Well,
or are
I
we
mean,
talking
Brock.
like a whole new set of NPCs that we don't even know about yet?
Well, I mean, there can be both, but I mean, in the first game, Brock and Sindri, if you do all their quests, then they get reunited. But if you don't, then they don't work together. I'm fairly
Which I
sure.
think once they work together, they're able to make more stuff for you or better stuff or more improvements or something. I forget.
Yeah. And you get like a trophy and stuff for reuniting them if you do all
So
their
they already
missions.
kind of like dabbled in some of that stuff that you're talking about with those guys.
Right.
So there's no
And
reason to think they wouldn't do more.
really the only other NPCs that you talk to are like the ghosts on the shores of the Lake of Nine that are just like, my wife is dead, bring her bones to me, and stuff like that. And like those are just there because they just needed more stuff. Like those stories really don't matter in the scheme of anything.
It's just like something to show you and sort of environmentally tell you more about like what's going on in that area and
Right.
stuff.
Yeah.
That's really it.
Yeah, it's not like connecting anything to the main story, which again is something Metro Exodus really did well. Was all the side stuff that you do is for these characters that you actually care about, and
Mhm.
it's not like a throwaway ghost that like I'm
Just
glad
doesn't
there's extra.
do anything.
Yeah, I'm glad there's extra content and stuff to do, but at the same time, that ghost character, like I don't care.
Yeah,
Like
like
it
you just
doesn't.
want more stuff related to the main
Mhm.
characters and all
Right.
that. If it doesn't tie
It
in,
doesn't
it's
really
pointless basically.
affect anything. So, all right,
What else you
if
got?
you want to, so the next one is Kratos gets Thor's hammer as his third weapon.
Which is
Um,
possibly the coolest thing that could possibly happen ever, maybe of all time.
so my other thought was alongside of this is that if Atreus and Kratos split up, you know how you have shock arrows in the first game, you could potentially use Thor's hammer as the shock to blow things up or whatever.
Woo!
So if
Can you imagine?
Atreus and Kratos split up, then you have that hammer, and even like if Atreus got mad and Kratos could like make a note of like the fact that the hammer has this lightning power you
Mhm.
could use.
And then he gets Cap's shield. No, I'm just kidding. But it would have to be like more towards the end of the game, I feel like. Not like
Mhm.
at the end, but it would have to be like later into the story
Well, I
because
don't.
obviously there's going to be some stuff that develops with Thor, and I don't know how
Right.
he would end up with his hammer, but
I think there will be a situation like Baldur where you face off against Thor multiple times.
that's what I was thinking too. He's going to be like the new Baldur. You're going to fight him like
Right.
7 times. You're going to find out some crazy stuff about him, and then maybe if you do end up killing him like 3/4 of the way through the story, you just go, maybe I'll take this, and he just picks it up,
Mhm.
just starts
Yeah,
whipping people with it.
and the other thing is just to support this argument is that they make a point of showing the hammer on his belt. They don't actually show Thor,
Well,
and
yes, but I also feel like that's just because that's like it like
that's how you know who
their
that is.
design of Thor is obviously unique and it's also true to mythology where he's like a heavier dude with like red hair or whatever.
Mhm.
Which obviously is nothing like the Thor that most people know, which is, um
Chris
whatever his name
Hemsworth.
is, Chris Hemsworth, yeah. So it's like nothing like that, but like as soon as they show you that hammer, you know who that is and like what he's doing
Mhm.
without having to like see his face. Like if they just showed his face, you wouldn't necessarily instantly know who that is unless they said his
Yeah.
name. But like showing that hammer, you instantly knew who that was. But yeah,
The
focusing in
other
on that definitely kind of hints, I feel like.
the other thing is in all the other God of War games, you get more than 2 weapons. So God of War 2018, you only get the blades and the axe, and you're gonna start with those in Ragnarok. So I think the axe is gonna be or not the axe, the hammer is gonna be the
Could
next.
could this is, a little bit crazy, but since we talked about Atreus getting his own like crazy set of skills, what if because Atreus is Loki,
He
Kratos
takes the
wasn't able
hammer.
to even like wield the hammer, but for some reason Atreus can, and then once he gets it, that's when you play as him and you just start bapping people.
I mean
That
that's a possibility.
whoo,
You'll
that'd be nuts.
basically have like a second murder machine with you.
Dude, that'd be incredible. Can you imagine like fighting stuff and with the Leviathan axe, and then like your son is to the right of you, just beating people with Thor's hammer?
So, yeah, I definitely think the hammer is gonna be the third weapon that you get for Kratos in
I like it.
this part.
And now I'm gonna be disappointed if it doesn't happen.
It would be incredibly unintelligent of them to not do that.
It's so easy. I feel like it's an absolute layup. Like
Mjolnir.
It's set up. All they gotta do is
Mjolnir.
spike it. Like, just give us what we want. It's exactly what it's like the equivalent of them bringing back the other two Spider-Mans in the new Spider-Man. Like, it was there. All they had to do was execute, and now it's there for Ragnarok. That's all they gotta do is let us get the hammer.
So my last prediction that I have is kind of a two-parter. Somehow Atreus and Kratos argue, and Atreus goes with Tyr instead of Kratos. Atreus at some point becomes like the absolute, like he is the villain, and he adopts the Loki title because Kratos named him Atreus, and he wants to shed everything that has to do with Kratos. So he adopts.
So he starts
Loki,
using that name. Now,
and he goes with Tyr at some point because he sees Tyr as like the better version of his own father, basically.
Because he's like a giant and he's part giant, so
and
he's trying to be more giant than God, basically.
Yeah, and in God of War 2018, they repeatedly talk about how Tyr was a good god, and his focus was peace, and he helped the giants shut down Jotunheim and all that stuff. So Atreus kind of looks up to Tyr to begin with.
Well, I was gonna say, I don't really remember, to be honest, but is there any reason to believe that Tyr could be like related to him? Like Atreus's mother is like a, I don't know, granddaughter or something.
We know that Faye, his dead mother / Kratos' dead wife, we know she was part giant, but we don't know if she was 100% giant or not. They never really say. So
they don't say what else she could be, or if she was 100% giant.
And
so
it's clear.
She would be if it was Tyr that she was related to, right? I assume.
Yeah. It's clear that she knew Brock and Sindri because they made her the axe. And she had a relationship with the giants in Jotunheim, but we don't really know like specifics on her origins or anything like that. And Kratos even says, "I wasn't the only parent with secrets." So there's things we don't know.
Yeah, and you mentioned while you were streaming towards the end of the game, when you were looking at the carvings, the paintings on the walls that showed their Kratos and Atreus' whole story leading up to that they predicted that there was a part that looked like Atreus was hitting Kratos.
So Atreus had like a snake or something coming out of his mouth, and Kratos was like laying in his lap as if like dying.
So I feel like
and Kratos looks at it, and there's like a curtain covering it.
Right.
And he doesn't tell Atreus to look at it.
So there's like, I mean, is that like, I mean, I would read into that as some sort of like symbolism with it being a snake, as if he's being like sneaky or slimy and he's gonna attack him or be the like responsible for, harming him, whether or not it's on purpose, which you assume it is because he's gonna be the main villain.
I don't know if it will be permanent. Like, there is a good portion of the first, we'll just call it the first part of the Norse mythology God of War, where Atreus is like a complete a-hole, and we know that he has that side to him. Like, he just thinks he's better than everybody else. He thinks he's above everybody else, and he should be able to do whatever he wants, basically. And he said, "That wasn't me," when he like kind of snaps out of it. He says, "That wasn't me. I don't know why I said and did those things." And Kratos is like, "Well, we can't worry about it now. Like we have to. So there's like this side to Atreus that could come out if
Yeah, and
triggered.
Kratos is like constantly trying to control it, not control it, but like teach him to like tame it and like
Right.
be smart about using his
Mm,
anger and all that sort of thing, and not letting
and
like
we
his emotions control him. But I feel like when Kratos keeps pushing him that way, he's once like now that he knows he's a god and a giant and all that, he's gonna think he's like this absolute badass and he can just do anything. And Kratos is gonna like come down on him even more, and he's gonna be like a rebellious teen, and that's how like all this is
mhm.
gonna start popping off.
Yeah, he seems like he's like 15, 16 or something in the game, I would think. So, yeah, and we also know that when he's taunted, Atreus is taunted, like they talk about his mother and stuff like that, he gets mad and that's when he kind of like snaps and gets pissed off. So I think there's like tons of hints, and then plus pretty much every story, including Kratos' own story in 2018, they talk about basically the son killing the father in everything. Like one of the ghost stories says that there's stories that Mimir tells
Kratos
Kratos
did it.
killed Zeus.
Yeah.
Right. And they repeatedly talk about that
It's
theme.
just an ongoing theme of son killing father over and over. Now, I don't know
Hmm.
if, especially because I think I'm 99% sure that there will be more games after this, which makes me
Yeah.
think that he's not going to die, but
Right.
there will be conflict in an attempt to kill him.
Yeah, they confirm that this is the last. Ragnarok is the last in the Norse mythology, but that doesn't mean they can't bring characters back and, you know,
Yeah, and
not
I
continue.
think you mentioned that someone somewhere said that that they would go into Egyptian mythology next.
Well, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, it would be insane. I don't know,
Um,
was there any substance to that or that was just like a rumor somebody made up?
well, there was
I mean, there's a million different directions they can just keep going with it at this point.
so the ancient Egyptian religion, like the little eye with like little things coming off of it. I think there was a
Mhm.
symbol similar to that in the other God of War.
Dude, what if he fought like the three Egyptian god cards from Yu-Gi-Oh? Woo! Can you imagine Kratos for his Obelisk the Tormentor?
Obelisk. But yeah, there were symbols because they said these are the symbols, and Kratos says, "I know this one all too well," or whatever,
Mhm.
talking about like the Greek stuff.
Yeah. Yeah,
So I mean,
wherever they go, that would be wild if they just step into
there's
like more mythologies.
there's potential for Egyptian, I think, but I think that whatever happens with this game, um, probably going to be a continuation of it in some form. I just don't know where it'll take place or what it'll be.
And like um there were hints throughout the game as to like where this was going, and then obviously the like Cory Balrog or Barlog tweet where he said uh what was it? It was like we're going to Ragnarok or something in like
Mhm.
the first letter of each tweet or whatever,
Tweet,
which
yeah.
happened like right after the first game or the 2018 game came out.
And Barlog isn't the director, he's the creative lead or whatever.
Yeah, which
So he's
I don't know.
I,
I don't know what to think about that.
I think
He obviously knew what
I,
he was doing for the other game.
yeah, I think they have some kind of plan to, you know, keep this going, and this is Ragnarok is kind of the end of it'll bring like some of those realms down and
This
destroy.
storyline and yeah.
We'll probably end up in Asgard or something in Ragnarok, I would bet,
Ooh.
before it gets destroyed.
Yeah, I mean, they got to do like, especially with already bringing in Thor, like they're gonna do a little bit of fan service and like throw us into
Mhm.
Asgard and maybe see, like I said earlier, like some other familiar characters that people might recognize in the mainstream as well as like some new cool ones.
Well,
Regardless of whether or not they play like a big role in the story, I don't know, but
Thor and Tyr are already confirmed, so I mean, I would imagine Odin is around in some form. Um,
it's amazing.
but yeah,
I'm psyched.
that is pretty much my predictions. I hope. I mean, the 2018 game is a 10 out of 10. Like,
Yeah,
just
agreed.
straight up.
Yeah, there's no beating
So
around the bush. It's one of the best games I've ever played in my life.
so as long as they just make improvements, bring in some new ideas.
Similar
Obviously,
gameplay,
it's
similar puzzles, similar level design,
yeah. It
all that
seems like
stuff.
they have.
Whew.
It seems like they have a grappling hook mechanic kind of thing. So, I mean,
I've never been
every
upset about a grappling hook in any video game.
every game with a grappling hook is better than a game without a grappling hook. So,
Especially if they played with Halo Infinite's grappling hook, because that thing is nice.
hmm so we'll see. Um, yeah, I hope there's a bunch of new environments and it looks like there is. So,
Yeah. Yeah, that's freaking rad. I wonder what because obviously like the first game, their whole reason for like going on this journey was phase ashes. So I wonder what like the reason for them going wherever they're going in this game or whatever is going to be, or whether it's going to start off with Atreus, like we said, like just being a rebellious teenager.
Right.
And that's going to like just start an ongoing chain of events that leads them down a road, or if there's going to be one main goal like there was in the first game.
And obviously Freya is going to be there. I mean, she is in conflict with them, so I don't know how that'll play out, but
Yeah.
something's going to happen there. Either Kratos ends up killing her, or I don't know, maybe Tyr calms her down or
It's going to
something
get
like that.
wild. I can't wait personally. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I pretty much the only like real predictions I had were getting Thor's hammer, Atreus being the bad guy. So I pretty much just agree with you. And outside of that, I mean, I want most of the game to remain the same and just develop new, ways to fight and kill and obviously a cool new story. That's pretty much all I want from it. So
Yeah, I think
don't fix what's not broken.
I think the climbing could be more interesting or better.
Which a grappling
but
hook would help with.
right. And
I was
it wasn't like that.
Speaking of random games with grappling hooks, I was very surprised that Ghost of Tsushima had one because I didn't even know that. I just played that game like recently, and I knew it, like the game was incredible because everyone loved it. But I didn't know there was a grappling hook, and once I got it and I started using it to like get up on mountains or whatever, and then like stealth kill guys in a town or whatever I was doing with it, I was like, this like weirdly fits. And I feel the same way about God of War because at first like thought I don't feel like there should be a grappling hook in like this world, if that makes sense. Because like he's a god and he's just gonna be like throwing a little thing up on a roof or whatever. But like I don't know, if you make it work, it just works.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the chains wrapped around his arms to begin with, so
I mean, I guess that plays right
it's a
into
given.
it. Yeah.
It's a given.
Yeah, definitely.
He could just have a hook on.
But if that's what he's using, like if he's using the chains around his arms to throw a hook on it, like what if you can get a bunch of other things on the chain and like swap them out? Like that's how you progress. You get like upgrades to the chains. You get like a grappling hook. You get like something that stuns enemies that you like throw out at them and pull it back, or like whatever, like stuff like that. I don't know. They could like make a whole bunch of chain attachments.
Yeah.
As a form of progression, or like even if that was things you had to find throughout the game.
Yeah. Yeah, the grappling hook, like it could be like the super shotgun and Doom Eternal, how it just has a grappling hook attachment. Like you could just have like
Dude,
different
can you
stuff
imagine like hooking onto an enemy and then just smack him in the face with Thor's hammer? Like that's the 1-2 punch. You just like pull yourself at him and just bop him on the head, dude. 10 out of 10.
Yep. There's a lot of potential there that they have to work with. So
yeah, and I have faith in Sony Santa Monica, so I expect another game of the year probably.
yeah, the issue there is that there's so many other games coming out this year. That's
if like without playing anything else yet, Other than like, Dying Light 2. Um, I I don't know what's gonna beat it unless Breath of the Wild 2 comes out this year, which I don't have all the faith that it will. But unless that comes out this year and like absolutely blows minds, I don't know what's gonna beat Ragnarok.
Well, Horizon is this month and Elden Ring, so
Elden Ring, I guess, would be a contender. I mean, I'm not a Horizon Zero Dawn fan, but
well, this new one apparently fixes a lot, so we'll see.
yeah, I guess it could be good. But if it's a lot more of the same, for me personally, it's not even going to touch like Elden Ring, God of War, Breath of the
Right.
Wild 2. It's not even close in the Game of the Year conversation, but I guess it will be for other people. So
And Nintendo has good games coming out this year other than Breath of the Wild, but I don't think there's anything that's going to be like, Game of the Year contender stuff.
yeah,
Like
yeah, agreed.
like Splatoon 3 will probably be cool, but it's not
Yeah,
going
I'm
to
sure
be
it's
like,
good and fun, but it's not going to win any awards.
right.
Yeah.
So,
And then 20 more Mario Kart 8 tracks. Can't wait for that.
48 more
gonna
actually.
play Mario Kart 8 until 2035.
Till you're 50 years old.
Yeah, I mean, unless you have anything else, that's all I have for our Ragnarok predictions and hopes.
That's it. I argued for the sake of being the devil's advocate. It's the most anticipated game of the year for me, so
Yeah,
like
same.
I'm looking forward to Breath of the Wild too. I'm looking forward to
I'm gonna use
Elden
PTO
Ring.
for this game.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
probably beat it in one sitting.
Yeah, I won't be working when it comes out, so.
No, not at all. That's what PTO
Yeah.
is for.
Mhm. There's a ton of games I'm looking forward to, but this is what I'm most excited for sure.
Agreed.
It's
Yeah.
first game, like no game is 100% perfect. I think Niflheim is the weakest part of God of War 2018. It is optional, so it doesn't
Doesn't matter.
really
Didn't even have to
affect
do it.
the gameplay, but I still give it a 10 out of 10. So,
Yeah, me too. All right.
so
Well, we can wrap up this epi, I guess.
yup.
Those were our hopes, dreams, and predictions for God of War Ragnarok. That's supposed to come out, I'm assuming, towards the
2022.
end of 2022. They've only said 2022, but I'm assuming it'll be like November or something late in the year if it does come out and doesn't get delayed again. I think it's already been delayed only once, right?
It's been delayed from last year to this year.
Yeah, so I'm assuming fall,
yeah.
we can expect it.
Kratos' voice actor said it was his fault. He had an injury or something, so he couldn't do the motion cap, but I don't know how
Wow, that's crazy.
true that is.
It's so crazy, all the stuff that goes into it that could like delay it that much.
Yeah, he said he had surgery in 2019 and delayed stuff, and that he tweeted saying it was his fault. What is his
Wow.
name? Christopher Judge.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that probably played a part, but I also think they're not upset about having extra dev time.
Yeah, to just perfect everything, which they do, and just like Naughty Dog and Santa Monica, like their games are just polished and good when they come out. So
Yeah.
Christopher Judge is like, he's Kratos now for me. I feel like they can't go back to anyone else being his voice because it's just perfect, and his like it just has to be Kratos now.
Yeah, and I mean the only reason they switched voice actors is because they needed somebody the size of Kratos to do motion cap.
mocap and stuff. Yeah, definitely. And he's
'Cause
perfect, dude.
he's
His voice fits. Like, he did well with the acting. Like, he's great.
Yeah, he's just jacked and the right size, and his voice is perfect. So
Yeah, I'm definitely a fan of him being Kratos.
yeah, I am too. I think the original voice actor was good too, though.
Yeah, he was, but it was also like, PS2 and 3 and it wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't like there wasn't as much emotion and acting in it as these new games.
Yeah,
I would say
there was a lot less dialogue in that game.
Yeah,
than this one.
So yeah, it was definitely a good move to switch over. And And now he's like the grizzled vet with a bald head and a beard, and he looks even more jacked than he did before.
He's thicker with two C's.
He's a thick boy.
He's a thick boy. Thick boy.
All right. That is gonna be it for
Episode 2, God of War Ragnarok.
Make sure you sub and check out our streams. You just say what you're doing on there right now.
On stream, I just finished God of War 2018, and I started playing Sifu, and I'm getting my butt kicked repeatedly. And then we're also playing co-op Dying Light 2.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I've been streaming as well. He is playing co-op. Sometimes we've been putting both our webcams up, which is kind of a new setup thing we're trying, but playing Dying Light 2 together and just killing zombies and doing some parkour is pretty freaking fun, especially in co-op. I don't even know if I would have bought the game without co-op, but it's definitely a good time. Yeah. So check out our streams. He is RedSawQ4 on Twitch, and I'm It's All Thing on Twitch, same as the YouTube channel. And that's it. Subscribe for more stuff like this, and we will see you next time. Peace.